And I read it and it literally changed my life, like in so many ways. It was the best book I've ever read. And I'd always wanted to potentially go back to school, but it gave me the confidence to go back to school. That book was, yeah.
So there was I almost called you Mary Swanson.
I still get that.
I'm sure you do.
Yes.
There was Mary Pedersen before the book, and then there's Mary Pedersen after the book.
Seriously.
Yeah.
The thing is move your body. Move your body.
Move your body.
Move your body.
Move your body.
Yeah. And for people, that means different things, and at different ages. As you age, you may not be able to move your body the same way that you did when you were 30, than when you're 70. But that paired with fuel your body with appropriate things, what you put in your body. I mean, food is fuel, and you are what you eat. I say that to my patients a lot. I say that to the kids a lot. If you're going to put crap in your body, your body's going to be crap. I mean, and finding a balance there is important as well.
I actually have a mild surprise for you, though. So on the desktop there should be, like, right in the middle, there should be 3 photos in of Mary's sports teams when she was in high school and
this is
beyond.
Fun.
And
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So many memories come back
from all of that. Which
yes.
Mr. Morton's been around the block.
He's been around the block.
Yeah.
He's actually one of my best friends. So
that's come full circle.
It really has. It's kind of fun. It's fun because, I mean, he grew up as my neighbor. Really? And so that's how I really kind of got to know him, was before he was my coach. And he was literally in our backyard, and he had a better basketball hoop in his driveway than I did.
Sure.
So I would like to go over there to shoot hoops, and just really got to know him and his wife, Deb, who's, again, one of my good friends now. But he had a really big influence in my life, I would say. And really? I can dig into that later or whenever. But it's funny to see pictures now because he was my coach, and now he's completely in a different role as one of my good friends. So
wild.
It's wild. But those are really cool pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have those?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
I figured you did.
Yes.
They probably came from you from
in the
social media
basement
or something.
Yes, in our basement somewhere.
You've got the vault of photos.
Yeah, lots of fun memories. And now that my girls are in that age now, I mean, they're the softball one I'm talking about specifically. I mean, they're going to softball practice here in an hour.
Are they really?
Yeah. And playing in tournaments this weekend. And
nuts.
Yeah. It's
today, or did they play today, or was it all
They
Friday,
play,
Saturday?
It's weekends. Yeah. Yes. But
Sundays.
I actually, some Sundays, yes. It depends on how they do on Saturdays usually.
Yes, sure.
But I actually text your sister, it would have been a couple months ago when they were playing in a tournament. And I'm like, Erin, these memories, and Jenna and Lindsay, and I mean, just all the girls coming back. And I think I am in a completely different spot now that I was then, looking at what the parents do behind the scenes. That was amazing. And I'm like, I'm so thankful for them and everything that they did.
Man.
And you didn't realize it at the time.
Right.
And now that I'm organizing the meals and getting everything ready, it's come full circle.
Ooh, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
But
it's fun though.
Fun, and it must be worth it, to see your kids go through their formative experience, when you look back, and it was like that did a lot for me as a person. Which, how do you even describe, what did it do to you?
Yes.
I mean,
when you kind of asked me some of those questions before I got here today, and one of the most influential, and I commented back, it's a lot of the relationships that I had, but many of those relationships were with coaches and teammates, and that was huge for me as a kid, just huge. Being part of those sports, being part of a team, having to work together, having to work through adversity. At the time when you're playing a sport and you lose a softball game, to you, that's the world right there.
Right.
And it's not, but you have to learn to work through that and be coached by other people. And
yes.
Yeah.
I think that's big. I think man, this opens a whole world. I didn't plan on getting this deep this fast, but like, what is an addiction? What is addictionology? Is it not a way to cope with something? Like it's a reach for dopamine. It's a reach for that brain chemistry that gives you the feeling, right?
Yes.
So you reach for this thing, but then you end up relying on it because you don't actually have a positive coping mechanism to deal with the adversity or the strain of life, right? Like,
absolutely.
This is real life. Playing sports can help you figure out how to cope with that and deal with those emotions in a positive way.
Absolutely.
With your parents, with your coaches, with your community. And it's not like sports aren't for everyone, right?
Right.
So like you shouldn't throw a kid, parents, you shouldn't make your kids play sports if they don't want to play sports, but you can find opportunity in 1,000 different places, right?
Absolutely. And I ask kids, child visits in the office, I ask all kids, what are you involved in? What types of things do you like to do?
Yeah.
And they always think of sports. Oh, I'm not in sports, some kids say. And I'm like, that is okay. There is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Depending on the age, I'm like, goodness, this is the time to try lots of new things. So even if you don't think you like sports, there's so many positive aspects to it. You should try something. But if you don't do that and you're in other activities, if you're in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or band or choir in school and things like that, and get involved, be taught by somebody else,
right?
Go through those experiences. Absolutely.
You're a nurse practitioner.
I am.
Which you're a practitioner, part counselor, part life coach, part, like these really real raw conversations. That's like
everything. Yes.
Every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Family. I think family practice in itself is just, it's such an umbrella term. It's huge. There's
family practice.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. Just because you see all ages, I don't specialize in one age. I see them all. So it's been really eye-opening for me the last 2 years working as a nurse practitioner, especially in this small community. You see everything.
Literally.
Yes. And I love it. I love it. I really do. I love it.
We've got a lot of threads to pull on right there, but your
do.
path, first of all, your path to be a nurse practitioner, like what was the schooling like? You're young.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you young for a nurse practitioner? Did you achieve it faster than the average age?
I would say I'm young, but I didn't go on that direct path. I worked as a nurse for several years, 10-ish years as a nurse before I went on for nurse practitioner, which I think helped me, gain that experience and what I really needed to become a great nurse practitioner. And I'm still on that pathway for sure. But, the path, the way that I got there was kind of a roundabout way, to be honest. When I graduated high school, I went to Central College and I wanted.
So did I.
Go Dutch.
Go Dutch.
Love it. I love that place. We can talk about that too. But
yeah, looking forward to that.
I went there thinking I'm going to be a biology major, and I wanted to be a biology major to be a physician assistant.
Okay.
That's what my mindset was going into school. That's kind of where my marine biology was one of my dreams, and I didn't want to be that far away from my mom. So,
sure.
I didn't want to go to a landlocked state and study marine biology, but that was pretty early on. Anyway, I wanted to do biology. I wanted to be a physician assistant. In a roundabout way, I've gotten there because of PA and an NP, very similar.
Sure.
The way that they practice and a little bit different schooling. But I went to Central, took biology classes, loved them, and then I took a chemistry class.
Ooh.
Yeah, it kind of threw me off. It really threw me off. And to be honest, I was kind of going to dig a little deeper into this growth mindset that I've learned about before going to nurse practitioner school, but I definitely had a fixed mindset at that point in time because chemistry was really hard for me. And even in the first 2 weeks, and I dropped the class.
You dropped chemistry? Was it organic chemistry?
It was chemistry.
Just regular chemistry?
Yes.
What is regular chemistry?
I don't know, but I didn't even make it to organic chemistry because, it was hard for me. It was a challenge. And growing up, I got straight A's. School didn't come super easy, but I had to work for it. I was definitely on that mindset of I have to be a perfectionist. I have to get straight A's. I have to do all the things, be as perfect as I can be in every way possible. And
that was youth? That was high school?
Youth. Oh, man, yes, very much. And I've changed so much since then. My mindset has changed. But dropped chemistry right away because I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be a challenge, and I knew I may not get an A in this. And looking back, I'm like, wow, that was such a fixed mindset at that time.
Sure.
And I learned about mindsets. And then that is one of my prime examples is looking back at that time in my life. And that kind of threw me for a loop because then I thought, if I can't have chemistry, I can't be a biology major.
Yeah.
I can't be a physician assistant. I mean, you're like 18, 19 years old and you're thinking, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I had this really awesome advisor at Central, Pam Richards.
Yeah.
She was in like the exercise science area. and I played basketball there. So, you know, I was in that kind of, I really liked activity. I liked kinesiology. I liked everything about that aspect. So she kind of steered me towards exercise science as a major. And I did that and I loved it. I ended up graduating a year early because
I didn't know that.
Thank goodness for Iowa Central classes in high school. I mean, if I could tell every high school student right now, give them a piece of advice, it would be take as many of those as you can.
Get after it.
Yes, I was able to graduate a whole year early. So that was extremely helpful. But it was kind of in my second year. She set me up with this internship, I would say, with it was cardiac rehab nurses at the hospital in Pella.
Oh, wow.
And it was part of my schooling and part of what I did. And I fell in love with the nurses there. They were amazing. And I loved the care that they gave and what they did. And I really started to think like, wow, you know, nursing might be the route. But Central doesn't have nursing for a major. It doesn't. I loved playing basketball there. I knew I wanted to at least finish the 3 years of basketball. That was a big part of my experience in college. So it's not that I necessarily wanted to transfer, but I figured out, okay, if I graduate a year early, I can have this degree. A lot of these can transfer over to nursing school. So that's what I did and went to Mercy in Des Moines.
Right on.
It was more of like a commuter college. You know, at that time, kids didn't really stay there. And
sure.
It was a great school. Learned a lot. Got my nursing degree. Worked.
How long did that take?
That was like 2
years? Yeah,
a year and a half, 2.
3 at Central and then
yes.
2 at nursing.
Yes, because some classes transferred over, but essentially kind of had to start over.
With chemistry?
I did never have had to take chemistry.
Oh, man.
I never ended up having to, and I kind of wish I would have had to now, looking back. Like,
there's still time.
I need that obstacle to go over.
Josh can probably find a
chemistry class.
Yeah.
Before I got you.
Yeah.
I took it in high school.
Sure.
Dean Landsman was and I don't want to say, gosh, I don't want to bash him and say he wasn't a good teacher. He was, and I liked it at the time, but it was just very different in college, you know? So, nothing.
What was different about it?
I think, you know, the first day or two it was all supposed to be a review of everything that you learned in high school. And I think I even took it maybe my junior year. So it had been several years. And I'm like, I don't remember any of this. Nope, it just didn't click. It was one of those things, but that's okay. We're past that now, maybe.
Maybe it was meant to be.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
It maybe was meant to be.
I had a pretty similar experience.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
With chemistry?
With organic chemistry.
At Central?
Yes.
Who was the professor?
I'm trying to remember his name. I'm not sure he's still there, but I'm going to butcher this. There's going to be some Central College alum is going to be like, Philip, what's going on? Why don't you remember? Like maybe Dr. Shriver.
Okay.
But
okay. Yeah.
Dr. James Dunn.
Okay.
You saved me with my organic chemistry experience. He was a phenomenal teacher. So Dr. Shriver, whoever it was that took it when you were a freshman, he basically had a vendetta. Like chemistry was his field. Mm-hmm. You're a freshman. This is how I interpret it anyway. Like you're not going to get an A. I'm not going to give you a pity A. You're going to have to earn this. So I think the highest grade he routinely gave was a B. Mm-hmm. Like if you did well, you got a B. He was just the GPA slayer, just killed it. And if you wanted an A, you needed to like come to him and you were going to have to do more to prove that you understood organic chemistry. So like the first test came, everyone's getting Fs. I mean, I got an F. I think I got maybe a C in that class.
Sure.
And just moved on. So then that was OChem 1. Then OChem 2 doesn't come till later, and I put that off for a while. And I ended up taking that as a senior. So I didn't take any organic chemistry from freshman year to senior year. I don't know I learned any from freshman year because it was so hard.
Right.
So it's James Dunn somehow got me through. Somehow he got me through.
I love it.
Yeah.
So he was the professor for the second organic
Correct.
chemistry.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't remember that name.
He was new. It was either his first or second year when I was there. So you would have missed him. But
yeah. Yeah.
Chemistry. I'm trying to remember my chemistry experience too. But
oh man, it kind of brings back. Yeah.
Because it's, chemistry. You've got the class, and then you've got, I'm on a tangent now, lab. Mm-hmm. And then you had workshop.
Yes.
You had it was a 5-credit class. It was chemistry every day.
Yes.
It was intense.
Biology was similar.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I really liked that. So it didn't seem like it was as bad. But you're right. There was a lot more to it than just sitting in class for an hour, 3 days a week. Yeah, absolutely.
You've got to go back to the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset.
Yes.
And when did that flip? I have so many questions.
It's okay.
How are you taught a fixed mindset first? Was it by default? Mm-hmm. And then when did it switch? How did it switch?
Absolutely. So in 2000, I want to say it was 18, I was working at the school as a school nurse. So going back to my nursing experience, pediatric nursing in Des Moines, I worked there on the intensive care unit and then the regular floor for several years as a nurse's aide. And then when I graduated, they just offered me a job there. So that was great. Keith and I got married.
Keith.
Another
thing we have in common. Pedersen friends.
Yes.
You've got Keith. I've got Reed.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Good people.
Good people.
They're great people.
Mm-hmm.
We can, chat about them too. Anyways, so he got a job here in Jefferson with his mom. And I found a job as a school nurse here.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, we found out we were pregnant, expecting Delaney.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
I think he passed the bar exam. We found out he passed the bar exam. I was pregnant, and that we were finishing on or closing on our house maybe in the same week.
Whoa.
It was a big week.
Whoa.
But anyways, life brought us back here.
Yeah.
I was working at the school nurse, an amazing job with my kids because I could have the same schedule as them. It was wonderful. Summers off. I almost had that stay-at-home mom feel, but also the working mom feel at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. But they were doing a book study. And I think it was Julie Neal, maybe Shannon Hansen, a couple of those, ladies at the school. And they came, I think maybe I heard about it, but it was a book called Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking
Yes.
about? Okay. And I read it and it literally changed my life, like in so many ways. It was the best book I've ever read. And I had always wanted to potentially go back to school, but it gave me the confidence to go back to school. That book was,
So there was Mary, I almost called you Mary Swanson.
I still get
I'm
that.
sure you do.
Yes.
There was Mary Pedersen before the book, and then there's Mary Pedersen after the book.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was the drive to tell me that I have the motivation to go back to school to do this and to kind of go forward. And reading that book, I learned that I had a fixed mindset before.
Sure.
In some ways. I wouldn't say, and there's a lot of gray area with that, but that chemistry class was one of the big examples I thought of. And I thought, wow, reading that book, I'm like, that was me. That was me. I found a challenge and I just quit. I dropped the class. I didn't want to pursue it further because I may not get an A, and that's all I've ever known. And I should have known at the time, like you did in chemistry, you may get a C and it's okay. You can still go on and go to grad school and do all these things, but I didn't realize that at the time.
Well, don't compliment me. I don't think I knew what I knew at that point. I think I lived in an unconscious, incompetent zone. Yes. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what I knew. I was just like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do right now. So
right.
Very chaotic time of life, but
yes. But that book was very eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
And that was, I feel like, and you asked me, what made me have that fixed mindset. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know that there's a real answer.
Yeah.
Growing up, I had a super supportive mom. She was always very positive for everything that we did. But I didn't have that father figure in my life. Like my dad was in prison for my growing up, so I just had, that mom as a parent, honestly, single parent raising 4 kids, and she did everything for us and
4
more.
kids.
4 kids.
You got 3 siblings?
I do. Yeah. So Jesse and Bree are older. Jesse's 10 years older than I am.
Okay.
And Brianna's 8 years.
And Joe.
And then there's Joe. So there's 4 of us. And she did an amazing job. So, there's nothing that I can pinpoint. I think it was just me wanting, I had that people pleaser mindset. I had I'm going to try to be as perfect as I can. Whatever I can do to not get a B, in school, for example. And I don't know where that came from. It's just the way I was. But I've learned since then, and I'm not that people pleaser anymore,
Yeah.
Can you define fixed mindset versus growth mindset?
Oh man. Yes. So no. I honestly would need to go back, but I think the way that Carol, the author of that book, gave examples throughout that book of what a growth mindset is and what a fixed mindset, one of them that really stuck out to me was the way that you deal with failure. and the way that you deal with obstacles in your life. And at that point in time, I didn't want to fail, and I didn't want to have any obstacles come up that could veer me in a different path. But now I'm like, bring on the challenges. This is, I need to challenge myself because I need to work through that. And that's the mindset. If you have that mindset of bring it on instead of, oh, I'm going to back up and go the other way. I think that's a big part of it. I've learned a lot from about a parent to be a parent through that book. It was eye-opening. And one of the big examples I can think of is when your kid brings home good grades. One of the things you want to tell them, you don't want to say, you are so smart. You got that A because you're so smart. You want to say, you worked really hard to get that A. It's the process of getting there, not just the way that you are.
I'm really glad you said that. This is the book, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
You have to read it, Josh. It's the
Josh,
best.
what can you do here? Can I do this right here?
Boom. There we go. I got you.
Yeah.
It's a must read if you're a parent. It's a must read if you're in a budding career right there. But do you know who Andrew Huberman is?
No.
Very popular podcast. Do you know who Huberman?
I do not.
Huberman Labs. Oh, unbelievable resource. He's been on Rogan several times. He's been everywhere because he has this research base. He's a researcher. And he said that. He said that there is research that shows that you will kill a kid's desire to try new things if you praise the just like you said, the result.
Yes.
Versus if you praise the effort.
Yes.
It's radically different because then it's almost like they want to try new things because they got the praise for just trying. It wasn't about the result.
Exactly.
Because then they come to think that if I don't get the result, I won't get the praise, and that doesn't feel good.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's probably one of the main reasons that they wanted to do this book club with the teachers is because so much of it is teaching and in education. But man, I'm not a teacher anymore. I'm not, in that field, but I learned so much. And, we just put up a basketball court in our backyard, like it's not a full court, but it's a little beyond the 3-point line. And we also put pickleball up there. And so we've been playing a lot of pickleball lately. Right. And this just reminds me of teaching my kids. Sam is 9, Delaney's 11. They're pretty competitive, especially Sam. She's a lot like me. Oh man, yes. Sometimes we butt heads, but we're playing pickleball, and she's just not that great at it. She's never played. This is the first time she's played, and it's a struggle for her.
Sure.
And I have to remind her, Sam, you're learning. You're not supposed to be good at this right away. But the effort that you put in, you can become a lot better. And same with basketball and all the things that the girls are learning right now, trying to, it's not about scoring points. But for example, Delaney will be excited, I scored 10 points this game. And I'm like, you did a great job, but you worked really hard to get those 10 points. And you put in a lot of time and practice to get there. So yeah, that's just another fun example.
Is she showing like a drive to get better?
Oh yeah.
So it's working.
Yeah.
Per se.
I would say.
Yeah.
And man, being a parent right now is hard. I think in general, it's always been hard, but trying to teach her, just those lessons in general it's just difficult, to try to, you don't want to push too hard. You don't want to put her in something and push, right. Because I want her to have that intrinsic motivation too. But there's a lot of aspects to that. But
so are you starting your parenting book, or are you waiting for that one?
No, I'll read them all, bring them all to me.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
That's because it is hard to be a parent right now of all times.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, introduce them to this, but not too much, or let them go off and be independent on their bikes, but, they could be abducted. Or, I mean, I'm being very,
but yet
sarcastic, but it's hard. And we live in such a small town and community, and I love that aspect about it, that my kids can do a little bit more than maybe the kids growing up in Chicago, Illinois, and things like that. They have those opportunities, but be a little bit more independent. And I let them, because I think of the things I did as a kid. I was riding my bike all over town at this age and doing whatever. Yeah.
Someone just told me a story. They live a couple miles outside of town, and they were like 8 years old, and they rode their bike on the bike trail like 4 miles to get into town to go to a gas station just to get like some candy or something. And I was just like, yeah, go ahead.
It's great.
It's great. Which when you, rural, a tough word to say there, versus urban living, You know, like there's some crazy opportunity in both places, but it's radically different. You should look up what proportion of America lives in rural America versus
Urban
America right there. Because like you came back, you said life kind of brought you back.
Yeah.
But you and Keith obviously made a conscious decision. Like, you know, you've experienced. Did you live in Ames or
Des Moines?
Where did Keith go to law school?
Drake.
So then, right.
And I was at Mercy, Des Moines. So we were in Des Moines for several years. Yeah.
So you had that experience, and it didn't. I mean, did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah. At the time of my life, it was wonderful. But we didn't have kids. You know, we were just two adults trying to figure out life. You know, as a married couple, as young, or we were even dating before that too. And yeah, things changed. And what's funny is we were back here for, gosh, I want to say it was even Bell Tower Festival at the Beverage Garden. And I remember one year, and Jamie Daubendeck came up to us and was like, "Hey, what do you guys think you'll ever move back to Jefferson?" And we both, like, I think laughed maybe in his face, which was pretty rude at the time. But we're like, "No way. No, we will never." I mean, it didn't even cross our minds. And I think after you graduate high school, we were ready to spread our wings. I was ready to spread my wings and move on. And never in my wildest dreams thought I'd be back here. But I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Because of just the space and the opportunity and the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
The community.
I
love our community. I think I really do.
Keep going.
Yes. So I love the way that we all come together to help people out that are in need. I mean, you don't always see that in small town, or in big town, I should say. I love I love the fact that you know people. You can help people. I say this all the time, man. And I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head, but this wouldn't happen in a big community, you know. Oh, I was talking to a friend the other day. We were having coffee at Chirp and sitting outside. It was a beautiful morning. And she was talking about how something was wrong with her car. And the local car place came right to her work, fixed it, did what they needed right there, and drove home. I mean, just an example. Things like that don't happen in Des Moines, don't happen in Chicago and bigger cities. So that's just one small example. But I like the fact that at work, you know, I see my friends and my neighbors as patients. You know, I really enjoy that. Right. Sometimes it's not as great when you are at the grocery store and someone comes up and wants you to look at their rash, and, you know. That happens? Yes. Honestly, I know it happens. People do the same thing to me too. You know. There's those aspects. And I remember being in school, and they said some people advised working in a location where you don't live. Don't live where you work, because you want to have those boundaries, you want to have those separation. And that, I feel like boundaries is something I've really learned, and I've had to put up and try to stick by living in a small town and working in a small town. Yeah.
Can you go deeper into boundaries? Because I feel like boundaries is something, especially now with social media and the internet and just the way that life has changed, not to mention the social changes that's been going on, whatever the drive is, but a lot of boundaries are being moved purposely. Maybe it's the sign of the time, whatever. But learning to set boundaries when in a world that's constantly preaching that there are no boundaries, whatever they may be. Can you just speak on that? What's your opinion on that?
Absolutely. So I've learned a lot about boundaries since working here in a small town as a nurse practitioner. And I think because it's a small town, again, you go to the grocery store and you get asked about your rash or their sore throat or something like that. And you have to kind of, I think mentally, boundaries are super important, because, you know, I struggle, and I'm still struggling with the balance between home and work and life and kids and my husband, and trying to make time and energy for all of it. And so that's where I have to set up those boundaries. And that's why it's really important for me, you know, to have mentally, I need those boundaries. I have to try to shut work off when I go home. Doesn't always happen, but that's what I try to do. And I have good friends that will message me, you know, my kiddo's got this and this, and I'm always happy to help out. I'm glad I'm that person that they feel comfortable going to. But sometimes I have to say, you know, I'm gonna reply to you when I get the time and I get the mental capacity to do that. Because right now I'm home hanging out with my kids, eating dinner, you know, or my husband or my family. So that's, I hope that answered your question a little bit. But it's hard, and social media is difficult too. Anyone can find me. I mean, on social media, I took my last name off a while ago. People thought I was getting a divorce. I had so many people ask me. It was so funny. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to set up a little boundary here, like so that not everybody can find me. But in a small town, It happens. So that was kind of funny. I'm like, no, Keith and I are good. I just took Pedersen off, so I wasn't quite as easy to find.
Trying to put up boundaries, but not between my husband. We're good there.
We are great. Yeah. So, but I did that on purpose, just so, Joe Schmo that I see can't find me and ask me questions, and they still do.
Wow.
And I typically just don't answer. And then on Monday at first thing in the morning, I'll have my nurse call that patient and say, okay, what can we do to help you?
Yeah.
Do we need to make an appointment or do we need to do something else? But in the same realm, I like being able to help my friends and neighbors and be there for people too. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I was on a run one time, and this guy, bless his soul, I mean, an honest question, but he rolled down his window and like in the road, he's driving at a stop sign, sees me. And so I like stop short, like,
are you okay?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Is this an emergency? And
Right.
it was just an innocent question.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a second, I'm running.
Right. Headphones in,
Yes.
I'm in the zone.
Yeah.
It's Saturday. It's not like it's Wednesday at 4:30 or anything.
Right.
And
well, and I also think back now, I'm in the shoes I'm in now. And I think back to when I wasn't, and I probably crossed some of those boundary lines with some friends and coworkers or, people I'm not necessarily trying to take advantage of, but asked them questions. And now I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore.
now you know.
Yeah,
Now you know.
totally. I learned
Yeah. Conscious competence.
for sure.
I'm into that whole spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Going from not knowing what you know to knowing what you know, and that's a different topic.
Yeah.
Right there.
But it speaks much to the hierarchy of learning and understanding, right? So as you're growing from one area to another area, the illusion of, for example, let's just say you understand something, you understand how the magic trick works. You don't get the thrill, but you do have another level of understanding with it. And even negative experiences can be thrilling, but then you have another layer, which is another, I would say, level of experience. It's just another level of experience. So
Absolutely.
it closes one area of experience and opens up a new one.
Absolutely. And life is like that. I mean,
Yeah.
as you grow and learn, you're always finding new experiences and going back and thinking, man, I feel like at this age I had life figured out and I had no idea. No idea.
Speaking of experiences, I'm curious. You might be going there. So I typically do this, but I'm curious. COVID.
Yeah.
Were you practicing at that time?
I was not. I was in school.
Okay.
Which I felt like made it actually really difficult and harder because I was in the part of my schooling where we were finding clinical rotations. And at the school that I went to was Clarkson College in Omaha, and it was completely online. We did have to go to campus but everything was online, which
This was before COVID. It was
before
already,
COVID.
okay, got it.
Yes, that was just the setup that it
Right.
was. And that's why
Okay.
I chose that school,
Yeah.
just so I could work at the same time and kind of do it at nights when I had time, things like that. But we were in charge of setting up our own clinical hours, which positive and negatives to that. There's some good things and bad things. And man, finding clinical rotations that would take students during COVID was tough. Luckily, I had some colleagues, I had some connections. And so that was my experience right when it started. And then I started working in October of 2021 as a nurse practitioner. But I had kind of been through different clinics and different health organizations to learn kind of how they did COVID and had been through it all. Wear masks, don't wear masks, do this, don't do this. And so you just kind of, you follow the rules at the beginning and learn what you're supposed to do and go from there. But it was a challenge for sure. Yeah.
I heard a rumor that there's some mask mandates coming back in certain areas. Is it specific on the population size, or what's your opinion on those
Sure.
health measures?
I haven't heard, I've heard little rumors here and there. And honestly, when COVID started, I kind of stopped watching the news and I turned all that off because there's so much negativity to it. Yeah. And so I just truly go based on what my organization wants me to do. And right now there's no masks, and I'm being a little naive and thinking that's not going to come back, but I'm hopeful that it doesn't, to be honest, as a provider. Now, I will wear a mask. If we have a positive COVID patient coming in or has symptoms, I will wear one. You know, I don't care to get sick. I've had it several times and I've been fine, you know, but at the same time, I'm hopeful that the mandates don't come back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For many reasons.
Many reasons.
Yeah.
Well, it's
There's
true.
a ton of reasons.
It's a mask protects. If I wear one, I'm protecting you and you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not protecting myself necessarily. It's not filtering my air on a significant level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's if I have COVID, I should wear one. But if you don't have COVID, theoretically, you shouldn't wear one because you don't necessarily need to be trapping all that stuff
Right.
less than a quarter inch from your face, right? And then a cloth mask. This is what I've learned in my own research with masks, because masks are about other people, not yourself. And a cloth mask should be washed every day. And if you're wearing it every day for a month, you should just throw it away.
Yeah.
It's like it's gone at that point. And I just don't think some of those common sense things are widely understood. So then you get these crazy mask arguments
Yes.
on social media that we've all seen that just kind of blow my mind, when it doesn't seem like there's one organized body that everyone can go to and trust.
Right.
The era of misinformation has arrived, you know.
For sure. And I, being a healthcare provider, with COVID and with the masking, I feel like there were so many people, you were either one way or the other completely. I was middle of the road, to be honest, and not trying to be one of those people pleasers in that situation, but I truly was middle of the road. Like, I could see aspects of part A, I could see aspects of part B, but just trying to be safe for others and be respectful towards others. And I think that was huge during COVID. Is you may not agree with what people have to say, but I will respect you and your opinion on what you think and what you have to say, and go from there.
Sure. Respect first. Love people. Love God, love people. That's just like the most prescriptive advice ever.
Amen.
You can cover a lot of areas with just those, focusing on those two things, right?
Absolutely.
How would you advise someone keep their head on straight right now?
Right now.
Don't lose your head. What would you say? What's your formative life advice right now for health?
For health.
Yeah. I suppose let me rephrase my question.
It's okay.
Is if I'm 32. I actually have a much deeper question here.
Go for it.
The majority of people will die from cancer, heart disease, a neurodegenerative disease, those types of things, which are largely lumped into a metabolic condition, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So I'm 32, and theoretically, that's going to really start to show up when I'm between 55 and 65. That'll show up, and then the last 10 to 15 years of my life will be riddled with meds, doctor's appointments, and managing symptoms. What if I don't want to do that?
Yeah.
Nurse practitioner, Mary.
I don't want you to do that.
I don't want you to do that. What should I do? What should one do? There's that fly. You see
There
that?
it is.
Good.
Yep.
It's summertime. I'm used to flies.
Yep.
It's all good. Actually, this is.
He's part of the podcast.
I was just outside, and for the first time, I had seen those or felt those no-see-ums. Do you know what I'm talking about? Those little black bugs. They call them no-see-ums. I don't know if that's.
Do they bite?
They kind of sting.
Yeah.
And they're black and
I
they're
know what you're talking
little.
about. Yeah.
Anyways, we were just outside. It's a beautiful day out, by the way. Yeah.
We should be outside.
I know.
If we could figure out a way to do this outside.
So with that being said,
Yeah.
Going back to your question,
Yeah.
sorry. I think there's 3 things. They sound super simple, but they can be complex in many different ways. So the first thing is move your body. Move your body.
Move your body.
Move your body.
Move your body.
Yeah. And for people, that means different things, and at different ages. As you age, you may not be able to move your body the same way that you did when you were 30, than when you're 70. But that paired with fuel your body with appropriate things. What you put in your body. I mean, food is fuel, and you are what you eat. I say that to my patients a lot. I say that to the kids a lot. If you're going to put crap in your body, your body's going to be crap. I mean, and finding a balance there is important as well. I talk a lot about the 80-20 balance. And I talk to my patients about this, and I try myself to live like this. I'm not always perfect, but 80% of the time I try to put good fuel in my body, do what I'm supposed to do. But I do give myself that leniency to, gosh, I'm at the birthday party, I'm going to have a piece of cake and, a beer and cheese balls when I'm out with friends. I'm going to go for it every once in a while. But as long as that's, 20% or less of the whole 100. The third thing that I think is most underrated and not talked about as much, is sleep, appropriate sleep. I think if you can try to balance your life to include those 3 things, you're hopefully going to live a good, happy, healthy life.
You're going to have a foundation in place.
Yes.
When you do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I could go on and add more, but I feel like those 3 are the most important. For sure. Yeah.
Are you a big research person? I
do.
Yeah.
Yes. I try to. Yeah, absolutely.
Like you can just quote things that you've heard and all that.
Sometimes.
You're being tame right now. I kind of want you to just let it loose, but you did not say exercise. You said move your body.
Yeah.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yes, I absolutely did, because I think there's sometimes this, people think exercise and they think, okay, I have to go out and run and I have to go out and be a bodybuilder. I have to go out and do CrossFit. And I'm like, no, I mean, honestly, some people, if you could walk 30 minutes every day, that's great for you. That's what your body needs, but moving your body. And a lot of times people come aches and pains. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, with your job, but we're going to catch this fly. Yeah. I love it. It's not bothering me as much as it's bothering you, I think.
It's definitely bothering me more. It's because he's been around all week and I haven't been able to get him.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
But I think, and like I said, as you age, your exercise or your movement of your body is going to be different. But people will come in aches and pains, especially the older population, and they'll often say, as soon as I'm up and I'm moving, I'm so much better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, there you go. Let's get up and moving and give your body that time to kind of adjust a little bit. So, and then fueling your body, gosh, this could be a whole 3-hour podcast.
Indeed, we'll hook that up next time.
Just fueling your body. But I mean, I talked about the 80-20 and putting in, Josh and I were talking kind of before you were getting a glass of water earlier, and we were talking about reading labels, reading the ingredients. If you can't pronounce these ingredients and you don't know what they mean and they're long and how many ingredients are on there, then you probably shouldn't be putting it in your body. And like I said, I'm not perfect, but at the same time, if you can try to look into that and try to look and see what are these things made of, then that'll help. Huberman
Labs, he did a research where 2 groups of people, they ate the same amount of calories, the same like protein, fat, and carb content, but one was all natural, like made from the earth, and the other was all processed, as if man-made and packaged, right? And the same amount of calories, but the hunger level of the processed group was higher. They wanted to eat it. They ended up, so they allowed them to eat until they were satisfied, and it was on average 500 more calories a day.
Wow.
Versus the natural group, all because of there's something about, like a potato made from the earth. There's just something that gives you what you need that you just can't get when it was made in a factory. Right.
100%.
And it's hard to describe that to someone.
Yes. And we live in such a fast-paced world.
Very.
And I'm living that right now. My kids they keep us so busy. They play on a basketball team in Ames, and we're out and about, and we're at tournaments, and sometimes we have to find something quick to eat. And so sometimes those things are the quickest and easiest but not healthy, and trying to navigate the world that we live in today and have those aspects is difficult. It's very difficult.
It is.
The other part is, a lot of my patients are low on the socioeconomic status. They don't have a lot of money to purchase all these fruits and vegetables fresh, and so I try to work with them, and I'm like, even if you have to get frozen vegetables or frozen something, that's better than not eating them at all. And if you can't get them fresh, and I understand that. And so I think a lot of working with my patients and trying to get them to be on board with what I'm telling them. And they have to have a say in what's going on too, because if I could talk till I'm blue in the face about what I think they should do, but if they're not on board, it's going to go one ear and out the other. And if they're sitting here thinking, Mary, yes, I know what I should be eating, but I can't afford it. But they maybe wouldn't tell me that. I have to keep that in mind. Let's work together. Let's try to find the best fit for you. So
I've started, there's just one woman in particular where I just kind of cut loose with her in the conversation, and I just said, I want you to be a warrior. You know, I said, like, what I think you need is not necessarily to do this, to do that, or do this, is just to make a choice and to stick to it like a warrior would when they commit to a task, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
I was just begging for a commitment. And that's the majority of the time, you know, like the conviction, the commitment, that's got to come before results do.
Yes.
You don't stumble upon results. Like Keith didn't go 10 for 10 and score. He's the only athlete to have 100% shooting.
Yeah, maybe.
At Central College.
Yeah,
I
he
remember
led
that.
the nation in field goal percentage that year. That was pretty cool.
That doesn't just happen.
Right.
Yeah, that's a result because of conviction and commitment to his skill and to the strategy, and it's just, you know, that's the way all things are.
That's true.
Just being healthy.
And he said before, he makes it sound so easy. He said, I was missing these shots in practice, and then I had this mindset change, and I thought, I'm gonna make these shots, but he shoots very close.
Sure.
So that's a little unfair, but no, he's very tall and he dunks in the 2 feet away from the hoop. But anyways, I'll still give him all the credit, but he said it was a mindset change. So I thought that was pretty cool that he worked hard for it, but it was a little switch in the mind.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's what I hope this podcast can be.
I know.
Something to just allow somebody to have a click. Just like I had a bunch of those. It sounds like you've had a bunch of those.
Absolutely.
Right. Indeed.
Yeah.
And again, you said, fuel your body. Don't eat healthy. You didn't say, you know, eat healthy food. You said fuel your body, like, because you don't think of food as fuel, right?
Right.
So you've almost separated in that statement food as a pleasurable thing. Food is for necessity.
Right.
Yeah. You don't eat for fun. You eat to live.
Eat to live.
Eat to live.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you can have some fun with it too.
Sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
You know, it's finding that balance.
Balance.
Yeah.
Balance is key.
Indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And then sleep, man, underrated.
Underrated.
I tell people, if you can get good sleep, if you can get that 7 to 8 hours, and it's different for everybody and what they really need, but if you will feel so much better. So a lot of times as a nurse practitioner, I try to find the root cause of what's going on, you know, and not all nurse practitioners are like that. Not everybody in the medical field is like that. But I'm like, we can't keep putting a Band-Aid on things. We can't keep giving you meds for this and this and this. Let's find what's truly making you feel this way. And so one of the first questions I ask a lot of patients is, how much sleep do you get? Are you getting good sleep? Is it quality sleep? And we can find a lot of answers right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because the answer is often no.
Yeah.
And then what do you do? How do you help someone normalize sleep when it's been off?
Yeah. So I ask a lot about like sleep habits. You know, what's your sleep hygiene like? We go through that kind of checklist that I have. I ask about, have you ever had a sleep study done? You know, have you ever been, had that equipment on to see, are you apneic? Are you stopping? Do you breathe the whole time? What's your oxygen level like? Things like that. And a lot of times too, I can round things back to nutrition. Are you eating an inflammatory diet? So that's kind of where I start.
Yeah. Does insurance cover a sleep study all the time?
I wouldn't say all the time, but most of the time.
Yeah. Right on.
If I could say there's one thorn in my side with healthcare.
Insurance.
You got it. Holy cow.
You're saying you don't
cow.
love insurance?
Oh man. No.
It's a process.
Man.
Yeah, to say the least.
I just wish we could do away with it. I never thought that until I became a healthcare, provider.
I 100% agree.
If we could just, because there's so many things I know the patient needs, but insurance isn't going to work with us and cover it. And you have to go around the bend to get what we need instead. Anyway, that's maybe a whole different.
I want to add something on to the sleeping and I'd like to get your opinion on this as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, Philip, you're big on this, which is thoughts, thinking, your thought pattern, which kind of does go back to the mindset aspect. Even when you were talking about your husband, Keith, how he made a decision and he repeated certain thoughts, like, I'm going to make it. And it ultimately changes your action pattern, which for him, if it's, I'm going to make all these shots, then he had to, subconsciously or consciously change his decision of what he's going to shoot. Mm-hmm. And it makes me think about, okay, which one is first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Are certain hormones being triggered by bad sleep patterns that are causing a habitual bad thought pattern? Or is it the thoughts first? Maybe somebody in authority or some thought was latched onto by this person that then is causing bad hormone releases in the body, which is not allowing them to make wise decisions, including getting to sleep at the right times or going into deep sleep. So what's your thought about how sleep and thinking and thought patterns and mindset all tie together?
Yeah. I mean, they do. Absolutely. And it's a never ending circle sometimes, trying to find ways to get people mentally to be in a good place to go to sleep, I think is a huge aspect. A lot of people, are concerned with anxiety and they have anxiety and therefore their thoughts can't shut off and they can't sleep. And then therefore when they're not sleeping, they're not feeling their greatest. Their hormones are off. I mean, you hit it on the head. That's exactly what's going on. And really? I wish I had a really good answer to that. And maybe Philip does. I don't know. There's a lot of research out there, I'm sure, but I think almost to an extent, you kind of have to train your brain to change what your thought process is as you're trying to sleep. And I've honestly, personally had to do this. So I talk about boundaries, right? And I talk about how I try not to bring work home with me. But there are times I'll wake up at 3:15 in the morning and I'm like, oh, I should have done this with this patient. I should have thought about this. I didn't even ask about this, or, we could have run this lab, or, these things capture me. And I try very, very hard, but I have to literally train my brain to think of something different in order to get me to go back to sleep.
I like the word train.
Yes.
Because in essence, that's exactly what it is. A lot of times people are expecting, and I'd like to get I'm just giving my input. I'd like to get your input on this, but a lot of times people are expecting this to happen externally. Like something somewhere out there is going to somehow swoop in and change their mindset for them or do the work for them. Essentially though, a lot of it is your own effort.
Yes.
You've got to put it in and you will, whether you're going to get it or not, get the outcome or not, or if it's going to be exactly how you anticipated it or not, it's still worth the effort to train and to do that work.
Yes.
And it is work at the end of the day. What's your input on that?
No, I completely agree. And for me personally, it didn't come like I didn't try this one time and it worked, but I had to try to think of aspects of my life. Like for me, when I get in those situations in the middle of the night or, anytime, I go to my kids and their activities and things going on and I think about that and then I instantly am calm and I go back to sleep. Deep breathing exercises is huge. And I learned this from another nurse practitioner, but we teach patients about breathing and even with anxiety, things like that in the office. And we'll do like a 5-7-8. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but we'll do, you breathe in for 5 seconds, you hold it for 7 and you breathe out for 8. And I'll do that sometimes. And it's so simple and it's not a medicine and it's not something extrinsic. It's all just breathing, and that helps a ton.
Yes.
And it's easy.
Yes.
And it's simple.
Yes.
It's almost like it's too easy.
Too easy. And that may not work for everybody in finding the best things out there. But I think a lot of people too benefit from like therapy counseling and trying to, people they do that to learn coping mechanisms, right? They do that to learn how to get through life in tough situations. And I know they work, at least some of them that are at the clinic or the hospital that I'm at, they talk a lot about breathing. And how that can help get you through certain situations. And I love it. I'm like, I almost want to like sit in on a session and learn more.
Well, it's really interesting because breathing is essential and mindful breathing does work and helps. And it's almost like sometimes I get headaches and I wonder, wait a minute, did I drink enough water today? And it's like really simple, but I forget. And then I get busy doing it. But like what you were just saying, you have to train yourself to do these things because they work.
Absolutely.
They really do.
And it's funny you talk about headaches and water because that's the first thing I ask people. And that maybe was trained in me as a school nurse because you have kids coming in, I have a headache. I'm like, oh, I'm not giving you medicine. So we're going to work on other things. Have you had enough water today? How much water have you drank? Let's go drink some more water. Anyway, that's a good one.
That is a good one. That's a very good one.
Yeah.
Who's the female lead in Titanic? Is it Kate Winslet?
Yes.
She was on, I think it's the Graham Norton show. Did you know the UK talk show host guy? His clips come up all the time. My dad's calling me. Oh, Dad, I'll call you
Tim.
later. Hey, Tim. I should almost answer right now, but I'll save that.
Oh, shoot.
Kate Winslet was on this talk show, and she went through breath training, like holding her breath.
Okay.
She held her breath for 7 minutes and 15 seconds.
Oh.
underwater. So she had her face in the water and was holding her breath.
For Titanic, like.
I think it was later in life. The clip of her, there's a clip of her doing this, and they showed the clip of her coming up out of the water, and she's older. She's not Titanic, Kate Winslet, but there's a kind of a friendly competition because Tom Cruise, for a movie, he was doing a role where he had to hold his breath, and he held his breath for 6 minutes and 30 seconds. And it's like, they're normal people, but they're also larger than life in a way. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean their breathing is better than the average person. Yeah. So they were able to train themselves into that. And, you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which your fight or flight is your sympathetic nervous system. Mm-hmm. And if you're stuck there, you have to have a signal to bring you out of that. And breathing is the contrary to fight or flight signal to bring you out of that. So breathing is extremely powerful.
It really is.
So
it's
big.
Simple. Yeah.
Simple. Yes.
Absolutely. And I hope I answered your question, Josh.
No, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah. And I would love to, I need to find the time. It's not that I don't have the time. I need to find the time, right? That's kind of a key thing that I teach people. And I fall into that a lot. But I need to find the time to do a little bit more research on sleep and, so I can give this wisdom to my patients.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's the big three: move your body, feel your body, sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Nurse Mary. What do people call you?
Yeah. I mean, when I was actually at the school, all the kids called me Nurse Mary.
Nurse Mary.
So a lot of them still call me that, but just Mary. Yeah.
Mary. Yeah. That's what you say. Hey, I'm Mary. You don't say I'm anything else.
Yeah, no. I'm Mary.
I'm Mary.
Yep.
Okay, Mary. What else do you have? Because is there anything else as big as that in your opinion? Or are those the three top biggies? So anything else, technically, we're talking about smaller, influential, but smaller things like breathing. Mm-hmm. You can't replace fueling your body accurately with breathing. Right. Like there's no replacement for that. There's no replacement for breathing, but its influence is maybe smaller than than fueling your body. What else would you say?
I would say your mental health, is a big piece as well. And a lot of people are struggling with mental health lately, and I don't know the cause of that. I'm not sure what. I think it's always been a thing. I think it's just not as stigmatized as it used to be. So it's important. And I tell people you need to care for your mental health like you would care for a broken bone in your body. If you have a broken bone, you're going to go get an x-ray. You're going to go get it checked out. You're going to see maybe the specialist if you need to. Mm-hmm. But you need to do that for your mental health too. And medicine isn't always the answer. For some people that may work great. But that's usually when people come to me with concerns, that's usually my last resort. I try to therapy counseling I think is super important. They're just few and far between right now. Mm-hmm. So trying to teach them with their mental health, these other three things that we've already talked about play a huge piece into that puzzle,
Into your mental health.
And so it's kind of interconnected with those three that we've already talked about, but they call, Prozac the poor man's, exercise is the poor man's Prozac. There we go. Yeah. Prozac is obviously a mental health med that some people take and it works great for them, but there's a reason they say exercise is the poor man's Prozac. Go out, move your body, get those endorphins moving.
They did research.
Yes.
On that.
Yeah.
It was I think it was a 6-month study, and there was an exercise only group, an exercise and med group, and then just a med group. And after 6 months, the exercise only had the best mental health improvement.
I love that.
They had the most improvement in depression just from moving your body, and it wasn't 1 week. It wasn't 1 month. It was 6 months.
Yes.
Which is just very powerful, you know?
Very much so.
Yeah. And you're outside, and when you're exercising, you're getting vitamin D, which is huge in mental health. Vitamin D3 coming into the fall. Every single living soul above the 70th parallel should get vitamin D checked.
Absolutely. I'm with you.
What percentage of your practice, your clientele, comes to you with mental health? If that's their primary concern?
As a family provider, I would say it's discussed in every single visit because we ask about it, right? Mm-hmm. And so sometimes people don't always come in and that's their primary concern, but we always ask about it and I always address it. So I would say of people coming in, it's got to be 40 to 50% almost.
Well, that's their primary
concern.
Is
Absolutely.
that Nurse Mary's protocol to ask, or is that hospital protocol?
It's hospital, yeah. But I always try to make a point too. And in every well child visit, every physical that I see, I ask about it. see how they're
Right on.
doing. And I do explain, especially to kids, you know, you sometimes use different terms with kids. And I always explain to kids, I'm like, anxiety is a normal human emotion, you know, worry, stress, anxiety. You have a test coming up, your heart's beating fast, you're getting ready for it. You're giving a speech in front of 300 people. If your heart's not beating fast, I'd be a little maybe worried about you. So, and I explain this to kids and I say that those are normal stressors, you know, that's your body's response, right? But if it starts to take over your everyday life, it starts to take over everything else, that's when you need to reach out for some help. And same with kind of the depression and sadness and stuff like that. So I at least definitely ask about it. I wish we had some more resources in the community for it. I really do.
For mental health.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah.
What would be to borrow last week's podcast, if you had no financial, barriers,
Yes.
you could create any type of solution. What would you think it would be? What would be your solution as far as mental health?
Therapy, counseling, free, unlimited for everybody. As much.
And do you
as
think,
need.
I'm just curious, is therapy, counseling the same, sitting in a chair talking to a person, whether it's male, female, or are there other forms of therapy?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of forms of therapy.
I don't know many of them. I don't know. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's funny that you say that because my form of therapy is sitting with my friend at Chirp the other day and having a cup of coffee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we
So
talk
true.
about anything and everything. And to me, that's great therapy. That's what I need mentally, you know, for me. But you're right. I mean, there's a lot of different aspects to it. And since COVID hit, you know, there's a lot more of the FaceTime type of therapy, counseling. Like some people prefer that, some people don't. But again, medicine's kind of the last resort. But I don't think people realize how many daily coping mechanisms and things like that you can learn from a therapist, counselor, or somebody that's specially trained in that area.
Yeah.
So that would be great.
Do you think, because I remember my wife and I, when COVID started, we saw a therapist, and when we were trying to get a therapist appointment done, they were completely booked for like a month and a half, 2 months. It was crazy. And it was the majority of therapists. And I was talking to the therapist, he was saying that they've been more busy. And I don't know how much of that is because people just had time off of work, but it seemed like it was beyond just that.
Yes.
And so I'm curious, a lot of the measures, obviously, I'm not trying to get into that conversation, but as far as maybe how our society is moving with loneliness, you know, is it, because you just talked about a great therapy session, which is just being with a friend.
Right. Absolutely.
So, and going back to moving your body,
Yes.
being with a friend, playing a sport,
Yes.
you know,
Go for a walk with a friend.
Yeah.
Things like that. No,
Yeah.
you're right. And sometimes it can take right now for, you know, the certified therapists and things like that, the counselors, it can take months to get in, and then it's hard to get back in because they're so full, you know, things like that. So I think it's important for people to realize that they can do similar things with a good friend. And yeah, you're right.
Did you ever hear about the study about the two rats? There was a study that they did, and they wanted to see if they put opium in a cage. Have you heard about this one?
No.
Have you heard about this one?
Maybe.
Opium
Keep
in the
going.
rats. Okay, so they wanted to get, so according to what I understand, the study was to understand the effects of opium and addiction around opium. And they wanted to understand why were certain soldiers coming back and getting addicted to soldiers coming back from, I think it was the Vietnam War, and they were super addicted to opiate, and it was really difficult for them to get off. And then there was other soldiers that were exposed to those drugs in a very pure form, very high dose form, and were using it on a regular basis. And they came back and they were completely fine and were not addictive at all. And so they did a couple studies, and what they noticed is they conducted a study with rats. And so one group of rats, they were in a cage with nothing fun to do, no friends, nothing. And they had two options, regular water or opium water.
Okay.
And the ones that were just kind of isolated in this very boring environment took the opium water to the point that they died, overdosed. Okay. The ones that went into the, you know, basically the Disneyland of rats, you know, they were hanging out and everything. None of them touched the opium water. Matter of fact, it just sat there. They just had regular water.
Yep.
That just makes me wonder, you know, as far as moving your body and
Yes.
interacting with other people. That's so important.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's a snowball effect into a positive direction by doing that.
Absolutely. And surrounding yourself with people that are somewhat like-minded, that you appreciate, that you trust, that you feel like you connect with is so important. Friends.
Do you see a correlation with your patients with that?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
huge.
I haven't heard of that study though. That's really cool.
Yeah. I'll have to send it to you.
Yeah.
It's good.
And
It's good.
Yeah. Opiates can be a whole nother section, but we don't have to dive into that today. But
It's a deep one.
it is a deep one, and
Yeah.
it's another thorn in my side as a provider for sure.
Because it's just overprescribed
Yeah.
and it's just a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
It doesn't solve the issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
What would you rather see someone do, or what's the alternative to an opioid? Because there's a lot of people I'm sure that come to you because they're at their last straw. They're
Yeah.
hanging on by the last thread, looking for something. And
Absolutely. And we now have kind of a pain management clinic that's attached to, it's not our clinic, it's a little bit separate. And I know that their theory is that, opiates, pain meds are the very last resort. So they're going to try a lot of other things too. I think, I encourage people to go to chiropractors and do more natural remedies to try to help with their pain, because opiates are a Band-Aid. They're not for long-term use.
Right.
I will rarely prescribe them for somebody in a lot of pain for very short-term use, but I am very upfront about that when I say it. And it's funny talking with you today, Philip, because I have people come in and they like whisper to me that they go to a chiropractor, and it makes me laugh every time, because I'm like, why are you whispering that? Like I love chiropractors. I have no problem with that at all. I'm, whatever you can do to help with your health and wellness, whether it's one way or another, it's great. And we work together, and I'm like, I have no problem with that. It's just funny.
Yeah.
People do that.
Yeah.
Makes me laugh.
Yeah. Yeah. People
Yeah.
tell me all the time, like, how do you get along with other practitioners in this town? 'Cause
Yeah.
they think we can't get along with anyone.
So funny.
It is funny.
Yeah.
I'm happy to get along.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all have to work together to get people
Yeah.
to be the healthiest version of themselves, right?
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
And if our focus is them,
Yeah.
we're going to find a way to do that.
Yeah.
If our focus is ourself, we can stay at war.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's silly.
It
Yeah.
is silly. People are silly sometimes,
They
aren't
really
they?
are.
Yeah.
People do think there's like one way and that's the only way. No.
Yes.
Let's work together.
Correct. I mean, you're the only Mary Pedersen there's ever been. There never has been, never will be the blend of a person that you are.
It's very true.
You, Josh Ballard, right? So there's a billion
Or you,
people,
Phil.
Yeah.
right, who are totally unique, who
Yeah.
can't be copied.
It's true.
And you're not going to fit into a box of like, hey, this is what's going to work for you. You've got to figure out what works for you.
Absolutely.
And what works for you might be something totally radically different that's never worked for anyone else under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exciting to kind of figure out what makes you tick. And
Yeah.
I have to go back. That's my conversation input into a mental health topic is like, what does make you tick? What lights you up? What fires your soul up? What gets you to jump out of bed? And just how can we nurture that a little bit?
Yeah.
Everyone's got something.
Yeah.
No one was born without flame, you know?
For sure. Yeah.
So-
And I feel like my flames have probably changed over the years for
Yeah.
sure. Sports were a huge part of what got me out of bed in the morning to go to school in high
Same.
school. Like, I'm going to go to school and then I'm going to go play my sport. 4 sports. That's what drove me. And I loved it, seeing my friends, that now it's like my kids for sure are my fire and energy, and my husband, it's your family.
It changes
Oh yeah.
with the stage of life.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to rediscover it sometimes. Just nurtured.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Where do we go from here?
Oh, we've discussed a lot.
We have discussed. What's our time? What are we at right now? An hour? A little over an hour.
Hour 07. Yeah.
Hour 07. I was kind of shooting for an hour and 15 minutes. We're right there.
We're close.
So
Yeah.
we could also, if we said, hey, let's do this for 3 hours, I'm pretty sure we could fill that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious can I ask you a question?
Oh, turn the
Is this
tables.
Like,
Let's do
can we do this?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do
why
it.
not?
Do you
It's
want the
not
pen
just-
and the
no,
paper?
yes,
or?
yeah,
Right.
But like, I'm curious why you wanted to come back to Jefferson and what you like about the community,
Yeah. What a question.
right?
What a question. So the honest, truthful answer is faith is very important to me. And I was near the end of chiropractic school, and I was driving from there to here to see my family for some event. And it was like this vision was downloaded into me. This has only happened like 3 times in my entire life, where it just felt like I was trying to figure out where I could go. And I had kind of like a partial job offer with a doctor up in Minneapolis.
Okay.
So I could go work for somebody, or I was just thinking about starting my own practice.
Yeah.
And Ames was calling out to me. I just thought, like, if it's not Jefferson, where am I going to go? Like, I want to stay close to where my family is and all that. But Ames has opportunity. It's got the college town. It's growing. It's budding. The vision was given to me. That's how I would say it. It was downloaded into my body of like, Jefferson is the place to go. And I couldn't figure it out for a while. I thought, this is silly. I should come back to Jefferson and do this. This is not a good idea. Like, this is not a good business idea, but I just felt like the call was here, and it was something that I was willing to lean into and just be like, well, if this is where the call is, I'm just going to go there and see what opportunities bring. And I mean, opportunities are everywhere, you know.
They really are.
And why did I want to come back here? I mean, besides it was that, and it was just, I could see it. I could see it where I couldn't see it anywhere else, you know?
Yeah.
I wish I had a specific concrete, like I came back for this reason, like, because.
I get it.
But I don't necessarily have it. I just felt like this is where I was meant to start right now.
This is home.
Yes. I'm not even sure it was when I came back.
Really?
I'm not even sure I had a good idea of what home was. But it was just, if I was going to set up to start anywhere, it was here.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
It's not a very good.
No, I like that. What do you like about it now? After being here for how many years?
I think 6.
Yeah.
6 years.
Okay.
Yeah. What do I like about it? Living in Minneapolis at chiropractor school, the city living, you know, again, kind of like what you were saying with Keith and Des Moines and all that is you can do anything, whatever you want, whatever food you want, whatever activity you want, it's within 15 minutes of you.
Yes.
You know, and it's not that way here, but there's still plenty to do. Yeah. You know, and
there is.
And it's almost like there's more focus on your community and doing things with people, because you could show up to a CrossFit gym or an axe throwing place and just like join a league by yourself and find a community there or whatnot, or you can do whatever you want by yourself up there. But here it's like you have to rely on people for entertainment.
For sure.
You can't go axe throwing. You can't go to a comedian club, you know?
Nope.
Taylor Swift is not coming to Jefferson, Iowa.
She should, but
she should.
She's not.
We looked into some of that for Bell Tower. Like, what would it take to bring like Carrie Underwood here?
Oh my
That's
gosh.
like millions of dollars.
A lot of money.
That might not be happening anytime soon. But
you've done a great job with the Bell Tower committee and all the things you've done. And that's one of the things I love about this community as well, is there are people willing to step up and kind of take things and run with them and try new things. And there's a lot of great leaders in this community. Yeah. You know, and they always people talk about small towns are dying and small towns are going away. And I don't feel that here. You know, I really don't. Right. And I love it.
There's been a push for that. And a lot of it, you know, there's several people who deserve credit, but Jamie, like you said earlier, have you guys ever thought about moving back here? I wonder how many times he's asked that question. Yeah. For whatever reason, he decided like Jefferson deserves to stay on the map.
Yes. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think so too. You know, there's just a charming little community here, and the community is the people. The people have chosen to make it a quality place. Yes. And I don't think that happens everywhere. You know, small towns disappear because no one necessarily cares enough to preserve the way of life, because the way of life is inherently different here versus the city. Yes. It just is.
Very much so.
What you do and why you do it is just different.
And I think too, as like a provider, a business person in this town, when you live here and you work here and you see the patients in and day out, you appreciate and you know, because it is different. If somebody drove from Des Moines here, I just feel like you wouldn't appreciate it as much. You wouldn't treat people the same. You know, I don't think it'd be more like a subconscious type of thing, but yeah. 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 Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Rural living is where it's at. I think it's, you know, there was a push to get to the city kind of around COVID too, or even before COVID. It's like where all the money and the opportunity was. And then I think there's a push getting back out to rural living. I don't know if the statistics quite show that yet, but
it's inconclusive because they changed a lot of the definitions on what rural and urban living are. But as far as the raw data, there is, the data that's hard to understand does show a slight trend in that direction where individuals from urban living are moving to rural and, and so on. Specifically between 2010, 2020. So
interesting.
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very.
Yeah.
You're happy to have your kids here?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever thought about going to a bigger city? Or, I mean, you're in small town living, even if it wasn't Jefferson, like you're not going to move to some place that's 10 times as big.
No. And we we lived in Des Moines and we've done that. And I can't imagine myself raising my kids in a bigger city like that. I just like the fact that we know their teachers, we know kids. I mean, the community comes to the sporting events, and I mean, not that doesn't happen in a bigger city, but it's different. It's very different. And I appreciate it here.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And we love to travel. I love going different places. I like traveling, but you come home and it's home, and I always think to myself, I don't think I could live here, but I like visiting. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Good to travel.
Yes.
Good to experience.
We just went to Montana this summer, late summer. And that was pretty cool. Like we were in a more of a rural setting, where our VRBO house was. And, it was very like serene and very quiet, and the mountains were there and it was beautiful. That was one time I'm like, I could see myself like someday, but then again, my kids couldn't ride their bikes with their friends right there. There was nobody around.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was different, but
Montana's blowing up right now.
That's what I had heard. I've never been there before. I just knew it was beautiful and I wanted to go. But as I'm there, I'm learning more and more about people from Los Angeles. So Bozeman is where we went. We flew into.
Bozeman's blowing up.
And they call it Bose Angeles now, apparently, because everyone from Los Angeles like moving to Bozeman.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
Yep.
And I know the community there is kind of, they're not too happy about it. I'm sure. I mean.
Right.
But welcome. Here they are.
It's changing their lifestyle or their way of life.
Yeah.
Sort of a thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I was there for a wedding. I had a chiropractor friend get married out there. And that was when I learned about it, how Justin Timberlake has a house there.
Okay.
Which Justin Timberlake is a proud Memphis native, so he says.
Sure.
But obviously does the work in Hollywood and then has a house in Bozeman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great place.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever been there, Josh?
I have not.
No. It was neat.
But I've been to Los Angeles many times.
And I have been. Central in basketball, we went to Los Angeles.
Did you really?
Yeah. We played a tournament there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you travel a lot for track there? Like at
No.
Central?
I suppose no. We were limited to what a bus could do.
True.
The team is just
Too big.
too big, I suppose, to get us all on a plane. But St. Louis was where we went. I don't think I traveled any farther than that.
Sure.
If you made nationals could be anywhere. I think they went to Ohio and all sorts of stuff.
That makes sense.
But
Yeah.
Do you watch Yellowstone?
Yeah, I don't.
You don't?
No, but a lot of people have asked me that
Yeah.
when we went there. And I'm like, no, I'm not sure when I would find the time to watch
I hear you.
TV.
Right.
There's not a lot of.
Not a lot of time for TV
No.
between work and family and getting your two kids where they need to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Time is something I wish I sometimes had a little more of.
The only non-renewable resource, time.
This is very true.
Once you spend it, you can't get it back.
Mm-hmm.
Money, you can.
Yep.
Energy, theoretically, you can.
True.
You can restore that with sleep and fueling your body and moving your body well.
Yes.
You can put energy back in your body. Oh,
yes.
We've learned something today.
I love it. Would you add anything to those three, Philip? I'm curious.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm in the weeds.
Yeah.
I'm deeply in the weeds.
I love it.
Searching for something. I have a sauna
Yes.
and an ice bath, and I'm very into both right now.
Okay.
Because of what they can do. Even mental health.
Mm-hmm.
The cold exposure is a huge dopamine surge too. So it's almost like a mental health therapy. And
have a hard time doing that.
we can hook you up anytime for sure. We can hook it up.
So I believe you, and I would love to try it sometime. But cold water is like one of the things I probably hate the most.
I did too. I'm telling you.
But I'm with you. I'll try it once.
I've gotten so much better.
Yeah.
For sure. It used to be, I was made fun of for my lack of cold exposure, but I'm better.
Is this at the office or like, is this at your home?
I'm trying to figure out a way to incorporate it at the office, but no, I have it was like $150 and it's inflatable.
Yes, I've seen these. I have seen these. Okay.
Cheap, easy. I've got a deep freeze with frozen water bottles. Thank you, Tyler Waffen, for that idea. And then you throw the frozen water bottles, 25 of them, into this little barrel, and you wait 15 minutes, and it'll drop a significant amount.
Wow.
Where you're getting an ice bath at like 55, 60 degrees, which is warm compared to what's recommended.
Yes. And how often and how long do you stay in there?
So the research, if you can get your bath below 50 degrees, it's about 11 minutes a week is what you need. So there's a minimum effective dose is a big concept in research, is like how much do you need to do to obtain a big benefit. Okay. So doing it more than 11 minutes, you don't necessarily get more. More is not always better, sort of a thing. So you've got to get it cold enough, but 11 minutes a week.
Very cool. Is there anywhere local that you can have this done that's not just somebody's home?
No, there's not.
You need to get this in your practice.
This is,
so that we can send people there.
This could be a big deal. Yeah. I have a friend in Brookings, Dr. Isaiah Crevier. Shout out to you. He has 3 saunas in his clinic. Okay. Which is the same concept. The dopamine, and you're activating heat shock proteins, which is activating scheduled cell death, survival of the fittest. The weakest cells in you die off. Cancer cells die off. You increase natural killer cells, which are seeking and hunting cancer cells. Because you and me, the 3 of us, everybody, if you're breathing right now, in the last 24 hours, you've made cancer cells. That's also a little known fact. Like there are about 10,000, you have 1 trillion cells, 10,000 of them at all times are cancerous. When you lose sleep, you lose the ability to go kill cancer cells. So sleep is like super important. Even if you get 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, and then Friday night you go out and you do some stuff and you get 4 hours, you lose the ability to kill cancer cells. So it's like getting consistent sleep is more important. Yeah. When you binge sleep, that's not as helpful as when you get consistent sleep. True. But the heat exposure, the cold exposure, those both can start cleansing the body from the inside out. Okay. Yeah. So Keith and I talk about how I don't have time to watch TV, right? And here I'm going to tell you about this Netflix that we just started watching, but it quarterbacks. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes. Saw it, watched it, went through it. Well, I just thought it was interesting. I'm not all the way through it. I mean, we've been like 2 episodes in and I fall asleep halfway through each time, but not because it's not entertaining. That's just what TV does to me. Puts me to sleep. Anyways, it was very interesting when Kirk Cousins was in that ice bath or in the ice pool. It was a pool. It was huge. Yes. And I was like, wow, that's so interesting. And the things that these elite athletes do to their body to put them in those situations is amazing. But I'm curious to kind of learn more about that. Yeah. Yeah. I have an enormous man crush on Kirk Cousins. See, after watching it, I'm like, wow, I really like him more than I did before. But you're like a Vikings fan, right? I am. Gosh. Yeah. Josh, do you have a team? No. I don't even want to admit my team because they're awful. Who could that? Are you a Bears fan? Oh, yes. I knew you were going to get it right away. They're so bad. They're struggling. And Keith is a Packers fan. And so this year's going to be, the Bears actually might beat them this year. So. Indeed. He's a huge Packers fan. So that'll be great. House divided in every way possible. But Hawkeye Cyclones. Yes. Are you a Hawkeye fan? I am the Hawkeye fan. Right on. Absolutely. You bet. I know you are. Correct. Yeah. Yes. Indeed. I need some swag up in here, but... Oh, yeah, you do. I'm trying not to... Yeah, go one way or the other. Well, it's try to stay neutral, but even I don't want to idolize sports, too, because you can go too deep there. That's true. That is true. Very, very formative, but yeah, you shouldn't spend all your time watching the Minnesota Vikings, only when they beat the Packers, Keith. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know your dad's a big Vikings fan. Yes. I followed after him. I thought maybe that was the case, but I've always kind of liked Kirk Cousins. I didn't know much about him, but I'm only to 2-3 episodes in. I'm learning to really like him. Which I have a big idea. Yeah, a giant idea. What is it? I've only told this to a few people. Okay. So now here it is public. But I think practitioners in Jefferson, Greene County, and beyond, we should combine to put on an adult track meet. an adult healthathon,
Okay.
basically, is what I think it should be. And it should be, we should be able to crown the fastest man and woman in Jefferson, in Greene County.
Okay.
But it should almost be like a health expo, where if you commit to doing an event, whatever you want to do, if you want to run, great. We also have like a rowing competition
Okay.
and a bike competition.
Sure.
And let's have a pickleball tournament while we're at it.
Yeah.
Let's just figure out how to do that all at the same time.
Okay.
If you just choose to do an event, and maybe your event is just, I'm going to walk a 5K. And maybe you have some people who are going to walk half a marathon over the course of this event. You get a free health screen
Yes.
where we get to assess how healthy you are and try to give you things to do to increase that.
Okay.
Because when you go to the hospital, I love hospitals and I love medicine, but when you go there because you're not well.
Right. Exactly.
To get told how unwell you are.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start figuring out how healthy people are.
Yes.
And try to predict how healthy they're going to be, right?
I like that.
So your physical fitness is a huge predictor of that,
Mm-hmm.
So it's when you come, I think this is the question now to spin it back on you.
Yeah.
Is what metric, let's say if you could choose 1 to 3 metrics, what would you choose to gauge someone's wellness and their health?
Oh man, that's a really good question.
I've been thinking about this a lot. So I'm
like something you could measure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you have like a true way, I don't love BMI, to be honest.
same.
I really don't love it because there's so many factors that are
Mm-hmm.
not appropriate, I feel like. But like body fat percentage, if you have like a really good true way to do that. I learned at Central, like the underwater body fat testing is one of
Yes.
the best, right? Is
Gold
that
standard.
still
Yep.
the case?
Still.
Okay. I'd be curious I think that would be a good one, potentially.
I can measure that.
Yeah,
I
I
have
knew you could.
Did
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
I have a little machine that hooks up, it sends electricity through you.
Yep.
And it tells you your muscle mass, body fat, hydration status, all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
I think everyone breathing should get that done.
Absolutely. That would be a great one.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think what else would be a good one. I'd have to think a little more.
Do you know much about heart rate variability?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I think that's the one.
Yeah.
Too. That's another
I
one.
didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Easy, 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All you need is to find a pulse.
Yeah.
And you can measure your heart rate rhythm.
Yes.
I think those two.
Oh,
And
that's a good one.
but then at this little health expo, we should have cold plunges at varying degrees
Yes.
of temperature. So you can just like come to this event. There'll be healthy food.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be cold plunges. You're going to work out. You're going to be with community. You're going to be outside. You're going to leave like filled up and just full of
I think it sounds
wellness.
great. I'm
Yeah.
in. Let me know when
You're in?
I'm in. I'll help out.
Perfect. Indeed.
Write me down.
And we'll do it annually so that if you run a 100-meter dash, you can track your time
Oh,
over
that'd be
time
cool. Yes.
and compete against yourself, because it's not about beating the next person next to you.
Sure.
It's about improving your own
Absolutely.
health. Some people need that competitive edge to do that.
Mhm.
Other people don't want to compete. We should have something for everybody.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
A giant one-day health expo.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in. That sounds
Okay.
great.
Let's go.
I know some other providers at the clinic would be as well.
Right on.
Yeah. Do you know Sarah Fleece at all?
I really want to meet her.
She's wonderful.
I really want to meet
I've
her.
learned, she's like a great mentor for me, and I've learned a lot from her.
Right on.
Yeah. So I know she would be interested in something like that.
Would she come on the podcast, do you
Oh,
think?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
She live here?
You need to get her on there. She lives in Glidden.
Right on.
Yeah.
Cool.
She's great.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I'm stoked. Mary, you're a wealth of knowledge. I think you're onto something. You're guiding the people of Greene County and beyond to a positive place.
So are you, Philip.
Just, well, with what you do daily and what you're bringing to the table, it's like, it's so foundational and so good that I just wish that this would get 1 million views and that everyone would just see
Yeah.
the good behind it. You know?
Absolutely.
We've
For
all
sure.
got to figure out what to do while we're here. You know.
Yeah.
We might as well live well, live healthy, and just be
Amen.
right on.
Yeah.
There you have it. Thanks for letting me rant on that. That was
Beautiful.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. Josh, you got any closing thoughts?
No, it was great.
No.
Now it's just about application, essentially.
Application, indeed, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
There it is. Mary Swanson, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Till
thank
next
you.
time.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Sure.
Come back again.
That'd be great.
Okay.
I'd love it.
You got it. Signing out. Catch you later.
Very cool. That was